I call the official meeting to order for the Finance and Human Resource Committee. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ermeling?
Here.
Barr? Absent. Hepworth? Here. Maloney?
Here.
By now, he's excused. Olson?
Here.
All right, public comments. I have one. Mr. Pensinel, would you like to stand up and give your name and address?
Good evening, Kevin Pensinel, 502 Earl Street in Weston. So this evening I see that there's a legal expense for $2,000 regarding a record request. I hope that this body questions and discusses this seemingly unnecessary legal expense. It's hard to believe that thousands of dollars were spent by the village attorney to comply with records which belong to the residents of Weston. I surely hope the attorney wasn't involved in the extreme and unlawful redaction of text messages between village officials. And this deceitful practice was handled 100% by village officials and staff. But if that's not the case, what was so labor intensive and cost $2,000? While we're discussing the village attorney, I believe he did an excellent job at reviewing the body camera policy and making the appropriate changes and recommendations to it. In regards to human resources, in 9 weeks, village staff has lost 10% of its staff. Is there any particular reason for this occurrence? I would hope that comes up in a topic of discussion this evening. I do see it on the agenda. That seems like an extraordinarily high turnover rate versus previous quarters or weeks. At the previous meeting for tourism, which shows the CVB has $194,000 in a meetings mean business account, that there is no good plan on spending, that it's antiquated dollars that were part of an program, and no one actually read the contract and found out that we were accumulating these dollars. But what kind of interest is that $194,000 that has been there for years generating? I would hope that it's more than zero, because if it's zero, that's a problem. That means that dollar is shrinking every year and is losing purchasing power because of inflation. I'm sure in the finance committee, since you're all highly skilled in finance, you know that. Finally, in regards to the fire department tax, I see 2 very high level examples of a potential for the tax and how we would lay that out. How many parcels total are in the village? So could we, as another potential solution to this, take the total cost and spread it equally over every parcel? So for example, if there were 6,000 land parcels, which I know that number is wrong, but it's a round number, and a $400,000 budget gap that we're trying to close, could you take 400,000 divided by 6,000 parcels? Then there's no math, there's no, oh, did this guy put a shed, is there an outbuilding, is there this, is there that? It should take 30 seconds to call to the county clerk and say, how many parcels do we have? How many dollars do we need? Smarter than a math 5th grader. There's your number. Right now, if you take 400,000 divided by 6,000, you get $67 annually. $67 isn't the worst. I don't think too many people would bark on that. It was 5 months ago since the board gave direction to explore what this fee could cost, and I'm just very disappointed that we only have these 2 very preliminary, not lots of options on this, just 2 very preliminary. I am excited to see that we have some commercial and some residential and a not-for-profit in there. That's good. Has the finance committee formally requested why the board of trustees discontinued cost-saving measures by merging fire services with Riverside Fire? We executed a highly beneficial merger of police departments, which led to cost savings, increased level of service, and a much more robust police department. Not only was it the fiscally responsible thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. I ask that this body recommends that the board of trustees look for alternate solutions to to an additional tax on the residents for the village of Weston. Thank you.
All right. Go through here, minutes from the previous meeting. Minutes from the previous meeting of June 16th, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Maloney,
Second?
second by Barth. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Acknowledge work product transmittals. Do we have any questions or comments on the June budget status report? Do you want to do these all three at one time, or do we want to do them individually?
I'm fine with all the same.
Um,
Everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question on the one.
Okay, item 6, TIF 1 and TIF 2 detail reports for June. Any questions or comments? 7, legal details for June. Any questions or comments?
I do. I was also wondering about the $2,060 open records request, and this is probably more of a procedural question. Do we do our own open records for the village, or do we just put that all out to the attorney to do them? Or is the attorney double checking them? I guess what role or how does that process work?
The records were pulled by the custodians of each record. They were provided to the attorney and the attorney did the redaction.
Okay, is that something that we've ever, I guess, thought about doing in-house as far as redaction? I know it's pretty common for a lot of municipalities to do that as like a cost savings measure.
We did, I mean, if we're talking about like literally the marking out, like we did the redaction, we worked with the attorney on what was redactable.
So just as a ballpark idea, I know this is an impossible number for you to give me, so I fully recognize that. How much, I guess, revenue did we bring in from the open records request that cost us $2,060?
$140,
What did we charge for the?
$170.
It was a,
100, oh, I can't remember. I think it was 150.
yeah, 150 is what comes to my mind too.
Yeah.
Is that right number, Jim?
Yeah, I was charged $150 ransom.
Yeah, okay.
For
Well,
records
yeah.
that we lost.
So we were able to charge $150.
So,
Cost is 2,000.
so we lost $1,900 on an open records request.
Yes, we did.
So I have worked for obviously municipalities, budget government entities with open records. And I know that, you know, for example, prior department I worked at, the front desk staff redacted. They were given training on how to redact records and they redacted them. I don't know how many open records requests we get for the village, but I don't know that we can afford to lose $1,900 on every single one of them. So I don't know what the answer is. Maybe that's a topic we put on next month's agenda. But I can't really swallow a $1,900 loss over whatever records they were, whether they were important or not.
Well, I mean, just to be transparent, it was requested by Mr. Pincinel, by several board and staff and committee members. And he wanted to see the text messages of a lot of us and over a certain time period. And we put them all together. It was kind of a lengthy time process. So we probably aren't trained to be able to do what you said. And so we took them to the attorney to have a look at. Certain things you can ask about and certain things are not admissible as far as the election and stuff. So we had him look at it, he okayed it, and we submitted everything to Jim, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not by any means, I just think that there's an opportunity there for maybe some
Yes,
training. We're
yes,
looking at
definitely.
another process.
Yep.
I don't know how many open records requests we get. I'm assuming not all of them are that in depth. But I mean, are we pretty much losing money every time we have an open records request or no?
No, and I would say in general, we include so much information in our packets that oftentimes we can refer individuals to the board packets because that information is already included. We do get several. This one was just, it just had differences that we hadn't experienced before.
I mean,
So it should be a
normally
one-off.
we do lose money on every one
Yeah.
because of staff time.
Oh, yeah, I
You know,
mean,
so, our signs in the right of way, is this happening? Is this, so
that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
If I could add something else, so some of the staff that was requested, it's their personal cell phones. So there is exchange, like, you know, if a family member was ill and they were gonna be late or something. So we wanted to make sure that if there was some case law done in Wisconsin Rapids that we were made aware of by the attorney, which kind of separated, we didn't know that, which kind of separated what would be redactable and what would not. Because some of it was, you know, do you let that, you know, because it's open records, our phones are used for the municipality too. So we just wanted to make sure that we were redacting information that might be private.
Is this the first time we've used the attorney for open records? Because normally we do those by staff.
Yes, I'm sure it's not the first time. I'm sure it's not, but
Mhm.
it's,
It's the first time I remember.
This is more of an
Yeah.
exception than the
It-
rule.
This is the
Yeah.
first time I've ever remembered it. Yeah, so. Okay.
That was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, I would entertain a motion to acknowledge.
I'll motion.
To acknowledge 5, the June budget status report, 6, the TIF 1 and TIF 2 detail reports for June, and 7, legal details for June. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Maloney. Any question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so carried. Educational presentation and reports. Acknowledge recent staff transitions, planning and development, recruitment for assistant planner, associate planner.
so I do have an RFC in the packet. Every 6 months, I just provide the transition, so it's July, so this was our additions or transitions for the first 6 months. We did note in there that for the assistant planner, associate planner, we did back in February talk about bringing on the assistant zoning administrator, code enforcement officer. That was approved and we had brought someone on in that position. They had a prior law enforcement background and we think just enjoyed that piece of it so much. They did get an offer back from a department, and that department would bring them back in and provide them the training, the credentials back up to what they needed, and so they returned back to law enforcement. But that experience just, we felt like maybe we should go back to our original planning, which was the assistant planner and associate planner. That's how the position was budgeted and approved for the year. So it's really just reporting that, because that is what we did have in the initial plan. The exception to that plan was the assistant zoning administrator and code enforcement officer. Say that 3 times fast. So I do also have in here that we'll return likely next month or the month after, just with our annual exit interview report, that the synopsis of what we're finding with our staff transitions. And it looks like Michael's got a question or a comment.
Well, yeah, I guess I can just, there are 3 people there within the Public Works Department that did leave over the last couple months. Will Harrison was with us, I think I have it in the RFC, about 8 years. Probably about 3 years ago, Will told us that he was leaving because he was gonna move back down to the southern part of the state. So he stayed about 3 years longer than we thought he was going to, until he found an opportunity down there, which is where him and his wife are from. So they're moving back to be closer to family. He got married last year, and I think settling back home by his family is really what the end goal was there. Peter Barazin had resigned as a Public Works, I should say, maintainer. Or maybe he did get reclassified to operator.
He was out, yeah.
Again, he was one that seems to be about a year. If we get somebody to stay for longer than a year, they stay for a while. If they, so I think just for him, it was a little bit of, some people want to operate heavy equipment. They want to operate the big stuff. And they thrive in that. Other people, once they get there and they do it, they realize that's not for them. And that was a discussion with him where he realized that wasn't what he wanted to do long term. So again, and then David Treba, utility, similar thing, with us in that position for about a year. And, you know, he didn't necessarily see himself doing that job for the next 30 years and had an opportunity to go kind of learn how to be an electrician. So sometimes hiring young people is good, and but sometimes when they come here, they don't necessarily know what they want to do. So I think all three of those were, I mean, Will had a good tenure here. Peter and David, they tried something and realized it wasn't for them. So I guess for me, if somebody's here and they don't want, they try it and they don't think it's long-term for them, I'd rather cut that cord with them early on versus, you know, we really get them trained and up to speed, and then we're 6 years down the line and think they're gonna be here long-term and all of a sudden they're gone, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the interview process, do you do job shadowing before they make decisions? Like, do you have them go out for a half a day, a full day, so they know what they're getting into to help with that first year turnover?
Maybe not a half day, and some of it's really hard to replicate. I mean, we do a tour, we kind of show them, you know, the equipment, we try to give them, you know, the gist of it.
Prior to employment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, usually, you know, if it's a candidate that we select, we usually have, you know, try to bring 2 or 3 back for a second interview. And the second interview is kind of that show and tell, you know, kind of, this is what the job entails. Is this still what you're interested in doing? And I think some of it is until that person's doing that job, they don't know, you know, or they see it for, you know, half an hour and they're like, yeah, I could do that. So.
We did
Something
a
to
practical
consider.
exercise too in planning and development with the top candidates. We did a series of questions of things that they would be asked, and then you know, ask them gave them the resources and asked them to see if they could find the answers, and then talked through what the answers were with them. So I thought that was helpful too, just to give them kind of a real life experience under a little bit of pressure scenario of the interview of what day-to-day would be like.
We found a lot of value in having staff working in healthcare, and obviously it's different. But there's HIPAA stuff we need to protect with them to come in for at least a half-day job shadow so they can see the jobs in action, and some self-select out like, no, this isn't for me, or yeah, I think this is gonna be good. Well, they can think it, but when they're doing it, like you said,
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, but it might not be a bad idea to have them go on the road with them for a little bit and see what that is, or,
I mean, our work is very seasonal for public works. I mean, like,
yeah.
we're, you know, looking for a utility person. I mean, you can go watch them, you know, flush a fire hydrant right now or do sewer cleaning, but we only do that, you know, July, August, and then it's a completely different job in September, October, so.
When you have a water break in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, I mean, those things happen.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest shakeout that I've seen over the years is the snow plowing.
Mhm.
The snow plowing is so intense that we have lost some over a couple times where that's just not for me. You know, you're around mailboxes, you're going along, you don't know what's underneath that snow sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's, I just remember some people leaving saying, nope, not for me. And then also long shifts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
definitely the anxiety of plowing and hitting things and
Yeah.
being responsible for damage or accidents that.
Just not for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
Okay, it was something I was gonna mention. I forgot what I was listening to. Okay,
So you just need an
okay,
acknowledgement there?
acknowledge, number 8, acknowledge the recent stand transitions.
So number 8, I'll acknowledge the recent staff transitions. Motion to acknowledge.
Second?
Second. Hackbarth? Question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, so carried. Old business, discussion and or action on adoption of section 10.26 body camera usage for non-law enforcement personnel in the conduct and behavioral chapter of the employee personnel policies and procedure handbook. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve it with Attorney Eady's comments.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that. I'm overjoyed that we got this on the table that fast.
I was happy he only had those couple comments. so
Yeah,
He must have
yeah.
done pretty good. I mean.
That's true.
Right, okay, on the discussion, what? Do you have any comments or concerns, or Linda, do you have anything that?
I read it over the weekend. And
Uh-huh,
I thought there was one statement, let me just find it. I tried to find it earlier today, but I got pulled in many meetings.
while you're looking, anybody else?
I'm good.
Shay? Oh, never mind, you're not. Sorry about that. That's okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard him say yes or no on the votes, and I just dawned on me that he's
Yes, I just, as I did that, I'm going.
he's just
"Wait
enjoying a
minute."
comfortable chair.
Yeah,
I just keep the seat warm.
okay.
The only question I had was under the operation,
Mhm.
where it says staff shall activate the body camera when such use is appropriate to the proper performance of his or her official duties, where the recordings are consistent with this policy and law. And I know there was some of Attorney Eady's, like, they're not gonna know the law, and do we have to do anything with that particular statement?
Okay,
That was just a question. I mean, I know he referenced that in his comments.
I thought there was even a question in there about that. How would they know?
Right.
You know, and whether that was.
And I think a lot of it
attorney-
was
Yeah,
redacted in there, not
Mhm.
redacted, but crossed out, but it was
Mhm.
just that one statement in the operations section.
Mhm.
okay.
I'm just
I
thinking,
mean, once they're engaged, they should stay engaged.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, don't
Until it's
slip on
terminated.
and
Yep,
off.
nope.
I mean, I think their knowledge of what's in compliance with the law is what we put in policy. I mean, if the policy says you can do this, I think they can trust that that's in compliance with the law. So I
It's-
mean, it's
yeah.
kind of weird, maybe weirdly worded, but I mean, I think it's covered in the fact that we outline for them when it's acceptable and when it's not. So I mean, they have the trust that what we put out there is legal for them to follow.
Right.
I agree.
So you're suggesting maybe changing word?
I don't know. It stood out at me because he referenced
Referenced
the
it,
law.
yes, and I missed actually do it, of course, with my skimming.
Yeah, if they're following our ordinance, as Brett said, I think we
Mhm.
just go through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You know, we're not sharing it, you know, they can't come back and share it and show others this stuff. It stays within the department. You know, under Jen's direction and administrator's direction, so. Mhm.
And he did talk about the open records, and that they are subject to open records um, and he was comfortable with the 120 days also. I know that was a question last time about the time frame, but he did add that piece until deposition of the investigation case complaint. I mean, he added that additional wording.
And I think you guys will know which ones you probably should retain longer, right? I mean, the ones that are gonna turn into something, so you can always keep it longer.
So would you like that sentence taken out then?
I don't necessarily think it needs to be taken out. It was just a note that I made that he specifically was, your staff aren't gonna know every single law.
Right,
But as Brent had mentioned, we're outlining in this policy, so that's my only suggestion would be, is there any risk for us removing and law including and just leaving it as the recordings are consistent with this policy, including? Or?
Are we on is it number 5?
No,
9.
We're on 9.
9.
9.
Are you talking about where it's?
Where to find that?
Oh, where to find it? I'm sorry.
Page 1.
Yep.
That's right.
It's under operations. It's that first statement next to operations.
Thank you.
That's under-
I was under guidelines, operating guidelines. So I apologize.
It probably is too extraneous words to say, I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
so I would
Yeah.
amend my motion to approve with taking out and law,
And law.
Okay.
Yep, good call.
Mhm.
make it clear.
I have a second on this. It's changed then,
I'll second.
Mhm.
That's amended.
all right. Okay, any other? All right, so, on the amended motion, All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Okay, on the original motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, so carried. Okay, all right. Okay. Discussion and or action regarding input on the half-page custom questions for the inclusion in the National Employee Survey with POLCO logo.
Roll call, yeah.
All right, what's your,
I did have some draft questions. They don't necessarily have to be these questions. Just wanted to get a little input back from the committee. I did include what the National Employee Survey is in there also, just so you could see the questions that they were asking. But just curious on if we like these questions, if there's a question that you feel like we're missing. And we can get, it's a half page of questions for them it's approximately between 3 and 5 questions depending on the link. So that we could add into addition to the National Employee Survey.
Can you identify which ones? Because there was a lot of questions, which ones we're supposed to be looking at? Because I couldn't make out what half-page questions were, sorry.
So these are the common custom question examples with the communication, wellness, recognition, benefits, and culture. And then where it says starts with the Village of Weston 2025 Employee Survey, that is the standard, that's the national survey. Those are the same questions being asked to all the municipalities.
So it's all the previous ones to that.
Yep,
The
yep.
ones that were added.
Gotcha.
Those, they're not necessarily added. Those are the ones for consideration to be added.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I might be a little biased, if I could go first. I expected more dirt on like the elected officials. And I think I only saw 1 or 2. And maybe even 1. I mean, and I know it's gotta be day to day and, we're not day to day. But, what's the feeling sometimes? I mean, yeah, we lost 3 people here in the last couple months. I guess I would hope it's not maybe our direction, but direction would be directors and administrator more so than policymakers. But boy, if people had concerns and they were working here about the elected officials, I know they really can't control it. I guess that'd be something that we'd want to hear,
We could grab questions in that half page.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, not too many, I mean, but I guess I thought there'd be a little bit more, how dumb are they or something, I don't know, so I couldn't help it. So, I mean, it's gotta be with the directors, it's gotta be with supervisors. Well, yeah, it's maybe a weighted question, but
have
yeah.
you had any problems with the direction that the board is going or something?
And that might be more to the directors.
Right.
That the directors are saying, yeah, I get too damn many calls. Those calls are supposed to go through the administrator and the administrator is supposed to delve out everything.
Right.
And I cheat sometimes. And I mean, I've called several people and I always say, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm not talking to Jamie, but can you give me a quick answer,
You call me right after though.
I know I do. I tell you right away because I want you to know what's going on. So, okay. All right. Anyway, no, I thought they were fine. I guess I didn't dive into them too much. The biggest thing is you just want people engaged. You just want them to truly answer. If it's going to be anonymous, you want them to believe that it's going to be, that they can answer honestly and openly, about their workplace and how they feel coming to work. Nobody should come to work on pins and needles. They should be able to come to work and feel good about it, feel good about what they're doing in their service and be able to go home, shut it off and if you can, and enjoy your life. So.
Mark's comment on page 76 of the packet.
76.
It says our last questions are about you. All your responses are completely anonymous and no identifying information will be revealed or shared. So in looking at the questions on this page, it asks department, are you a manager? Are you full-time, part-time? What's your gender? What's your age? And how long do you work for the village? Do we get feedback from this? Because it could not be more obvious who the person is based on these questions. If I read this, I would throw this in the trash because I would not believe for 1 second my answers are anonymous.
Well, and
Because we ask so many questions, we have 43-ish employees for the village,
Yeah.
So I mean, you might as well just say, put your name on here, because I mean, I could figure it out and I don't know everybody that works for the village, so
So
I
you've
just think,
already narrowed it down by gender.
yeah.
And
I
then you
think-
narrow it down on some other stuff and I'm just going, okay, wait a minute. Why is this relevant?
Yeah, I think this whole last page.
This might be
is not
national,
necessary.
but it's, why is it relevant here?
I'm
We
assuming
don't need
that
it.
it's a national, the results go direct to the national company and they summarize everything for you. And then there's specific criteria that must be met to be reported out on, like there's usually a minimum of at least 4 people that are in those categories
Mhm.
before it reports out. But I agree,
Which
I
means
think
none of ours would report out. I mean,
that if
most
it's
of them.
anonymous, that they might have a fear of providing that information,
I mean,
unless it's optional.
I'm the
for them.
oldest guy, so you're gonna know it's me. You know, so I mean, seriously, I just don't think it's necessary.
I can ask them just not to provide that information to us. The D1 question about the departments, that's why they're Xed, is because, and for the Pocal survey, you need 10 per department, and I said we weren't gonna achieve that, so we will just be one unit. It won't come, they will do it all as essentially as being one department.
I think the differentiation between manager and non-manager would be important, because you have enough.
Yeah.
You have at least 10 managers, right?
Well,
No?
technically we have, I guess if you count like
Department heads are managers.
Supervisors and stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
Supervisor.
managers within departments,
Yeah.
yeah,
Leadership.
yeah.
Yeah.
You live in Weston, who cares? Who cares? It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter to us. We don't care, other than a response time.
Again, that's part of
Yeah.
that's part of the participation in the national employee survey
We
though,
don't wanna
so
participate.
but we already paid.
I mean, I'm assuming this is for bigger corporations as well. If you have 400 employees, this is great data. But like, I don't think we're gonna get true information from people if they have to fill this out, because you can promise all day long it's anonymous, but I don't for a second, looking at these 10 questions, will ever personally feel that this is truly anonymous. So I don't know if maybe it is, you just somehow try to really overly reassure employees that the company will have this, it won't come back to us. I don't know if that will make a difference, but I have been part of organizations where we've done surveys like this. And I can tell you that the results weren't what we were looking for because of this type of questions.
Participation.
Yeah, I mean, people are never gonna believe it's anonymous. So if we want real information, they have to trust that whatever they say is not coming back.
So yes, we paid for it, okay? And you've said that like 2 or 3 times.
I said it once.
Oh, I might have heard it 2 or 3 times.
And we approved.
But it sounded like it was more than once. So if we paid for it, so what? And can we just say optional or throw this page out? Is it gonna hurt us if we don't turn this information in?
I can ask. I can ask.
I mean, we don't wanna do it.
Any.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea to see if it's a
Mhm.
negotiable. I know that many times it's not. Once you agree to it, you agree to collect that data. So if it's a non-negotiable and it's gonna be part of the survey, can the employee submit without completing it? Or is it gonna be kicked back? Would be a good question for them. And
There's
then
a lot of
read-
things I don't like, I put any.
it just doesn't look like there's an option.
Well, on D2, there's don't know. I would put don't know on every question. And
But
then,
that was also the only one that gives you the option of don't know.
Yeah, but then we just tell everybody that, don't know on everyone.
Yeah, I just, like I said, that's
I
not
just
really
gotta
what
ask
we
the
were
question.
talking about tonight. I know you wanted specific questions for a half page, but I just couldn't get past this.
I agree.
I would never fill out this survey.
It was in the previous, I mean, that national employee survey, those pages they're not different from previous packets. Those questions haven't changed.
And I probably didn't read it as thoroughly as I should have, but it just stuck out to me this time as I was reading it, because I'm just like.
But I can ask if it's a non-negotiable about not including it.
Because we feel that when our employees would not fill it out.
We got 40 employees,
You want real information that we can take as
Mhm.
feedback to make changes. We
Agreed.
gotta make it secure and comfortable for people to give us that.
I've got one other thought on the, the common. So under the wellness, for example, you've got a 3-point rating scale, if you will. You've got highly beneficial, moderately beneficial, and not beneficial. I would try to align your ratings along with the other point systems, whether it's a 4-point or a 5-point. Because I'm assuming that you're tallying up the total to see how you're measuring against potential other standards. So if you've got a 3-point, that might skew your data if you're rating yourself on a 4-point scale. I would just make sure those are consistent.
I like the wellness question. I didn't really see much else in the standard questions, like specifically looking at that same thing.
Yeah, I like the other questions. I think they'll give you some good insight. For all of them, if you can keep them all. So those are good.
So recognition is us or them?
Oh, they like to be recognized.
But our questions or the
That's
national
a
question?
custom question.
That was a us question?
Yeah.
So the one that I see missing, the biggest one, well, obviously food I love, but PTO, time off. Time off is a huge issue to reward somebody. So I mean, I see all the other
That's
stuff.
under the benefits.
Yeah. Oh, it's under benefits?
It is. There's a
Oh.
vacation time, sick leave.
Oh, okay. But
What's
yeah, but that,
IMRF?
but this is recognition. So how do I want to be, you know,
Oh, I see.
Money
what you're
or
good,
saying.
good
have a day
job,
off.
good job. So it says
Yeah.
here food, does it save money? Yeah, $25 gift card. Hey, give me the afternoon off.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
Maybe I had a question about the direction of the village where we could
Mhm.
tie in the political leadership, like,
There you go.
you know, how do you agree with the direction of the village? Do you
Mhm.
think they're making good decisions for the residents? Like, you might be able to tie a question in that gets you a little bit of the, you
Into-
know,
Under
A
the
little more
culture,
flavor. Yeah.
under that culture section.
Yeah, yeah, you're right on the wellness. It's just, it's either yes or no or not. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's helpful. I was just looking for some feedback.
When you roll out the survey, that communication, once you find out of all those demographics, that'll be important to explain how their identity is protected, like really reiterate it, bold, highlight. When, forgive me that I'm not remembering, when the results come in, how do you roll out the results? Do you have director meetings and then the directors share those results with the employees? Like, how is that rolled out? And do you communicate that ahead of time?
We will likely talk about it in a director's meeting first, and then we'll do it as part of an all-staff meeting, because we do
Okay.
all-staff meetings quarterly, so
Okay.
because we're not gonna do it breaking into departments, I think we'll do it together as a group. Yep.
And then do you guys action plan on things that might be low items?
So this is our first time to do this, so I
Okay.
think that's a good talking point of like, what, now that we have the data, what's the next? I mean, at this point, we talked that maybe we would do the survey again every 2 or 3 years, so we can sort of build some data points against it.
Sure. I find in my 30 years of working in HR that the action planning is an important piece. You'll get the results, well, great. You have the results, you share the results. Now what? Like, how are you going to impact any changes that might be necessary? And you have to be, I didn't go through every single question, but you have to be careful of the questions you ask. I saw a comp question, but I really liked the way it was worded. It wasn't about how I feel about my own comp. Is it a motivator? That's a great question. Because if you can't change something, don't ask about it. That's just something that I've learned, like quit asking about those things you can't change. But the action plans will be really important. And how are you going to identify as a village, what are your top priorities? And are there anything that's going to be able to be drilled down within the department so that they can work on? So I think I love the department breakdown, and I know you don't have enough by department, so it's just hard to figure out where the issue might be. And I don't want to say issue, that's probably a bad word, but where the opportunities lie. But action planning would be important, and then tracking those action plans and communicating all the great things that you've done since that survey, and communicating that out before the next survey comes out. Like, hey, you spoke, we listened. Here's the actions that we've taken since our last survey. We want to hear from you again.
Anybody else? I keep looking at Michelle. Anybody else have any
Mhm.
comments or concerns?
That's very well said.
Okay, so, discussion and or action, I guess Jamie, what would you like us to do on this?
That's what I just wanted to have the conversation before we got the survey released out to the employees, so I'm good. I wouldn't need any action.
Okay, I was sitting there thinking, I don't know how we do action here, but all right, very good. New business, discussion and or action on proposed amendments to the engineering technician position description, formerly the utility technician position. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, Michael, that might be you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Will Harrison left us in May. After Will left, we kind of relooked at his position to see, you know, would we want to fulfill that with somebody of the similar skill set, or are there changes we'd want to make to that position? Last year, we hired a staff engineer to start doing design work in-house, and, you know, looking at other communities and how they're structured, and even civil engineering consulting firms, you know, where we spend a fair amount of our money outside is on people that are more of an engineering tech. They have kind of that CAD, civil engineering background with construction projects. So that was, I guess, one spot where we thought, you know, a lot of those positions out there, they do get a little bit of GIS training. They know how to would know how to update the GIS database, our assets. And that's, in Will's time here, him and Nate really built our mapping to a point where, I don't know if we're necessarily the envy of our neighbors, but definitely might be the envy of our neighbors with the ability to, you know, when TDS came through, we put all the TDS lines on our iPad. So when it came to locating utilities, we were able to do it much faster than all of our neighboring communities were. When it comes to, you know, our flushing map, you know, our guys can highlight where they're at, you know, in real time, so our neighbors know where we're at. So maintaining the database isn't as difficult as building it, which is really what Will did. So, but having somebody out on the street now inspecting these projects so that we have the ability in-house to do it, or I shouldn't say ability, but somebody with the time available to go do it. I think it adds the most value for our department moving forward. So it's kind of just tweaks that initial utility technician to a engineering, kind of construction oversight, CAD position more so. And looking at neighboring communities and the private sector, the pay range still seemed to be comparable to what the utility tech was being paid for or graded at. So.
Okay, any questions?
No, I think it's fantastic. I think that's something we should do with every open position, is we should be reevaluating, is it really what we want, not just to fill a spot, but identifying the fact that if we had just replaced what we had, we'd have a person with a real light workload where we could have more efficiency. So
So this is not, I mean, it's a new position, but it's not a new person you're replacing, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, we would put a person in a vacant office. We wouldn't have, you know,
But I
two.
mean, we're not adding staff, we're just
Correct.
staying, okay.
Yeah.
Then my question to that is the fiscal impact. Position would be paid for out of capital projects funds as well as utility funds as allocated based on projects. I guess I'm kind of lost. Isn't capital projects borrowed funds?
Sometimes, not always. You know, that's part of our finance going forward. The utility, so the utility technician position was 100% utility funded between the water and sewer utilities. So I mean, right now, we're paying Clark Dietz to oversee the Schofield Ave project, AECom to oversee Weston Avenue, Becker Hoppy to oversee Fuller Street. So, I mean, those are, well, not all of those, but some of those are borrowed funds that we're paying people to oversee our construction projects. So next year, when we reconstruct Concord, we can either use borrowed funds to pay an employee at the Village of Weston, or we can use those funds to pay an outside entity to oversee the project. So yes, we might be using borrowed funds, but you know, I think all in, this position maybe costs us $100,000. We easily hit that number on construction observation on any project when billing rates are $90 to $100 minimum for a person. So and a person would be able to handle part of the design side, as well as, you know, other still handling some of the private well permitting or excavation permits, some of the other follow-up that, you know, Will also did in that role.
Okay, so is this position now, where is this position? Or not this specific, the one we're replacing? Where is that funded at?
The current one was 100% water and sewer funds.
Okay, 'cause that was, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
And some of our capital projects are, you know, there's a water sewer aspect to those that,
so would he just be paid directly out of that, or it would be billed to it as he hourly working on that?
correct, yeah, so we would, you know, kind of have a timesheet where they, you know, hey, I spent 4 hours on this project today, I spent 3 on this one, and I did an hour on permits, so.
Okay, so say in the I'm gonna keep going here, within the winter, when we don't have capital projects going on, where is his money coming from?
So we have a lot of capital projects going on though. So that's the fallacy maybe is construction isn't actively going, but there's a lot of design work, there's
Okay.
a lot of specification writing, there is the follow-up from that summer's construction project where now we need to go in and update our database with the new water sewer lines and getting our mapping back up to date. So over winter is when we kind of reset all of our data from that previous year to
But now mapping wouldn't go capital projects.
no, so that would be then just an internal
It
thing.
would be some, you would put it somewhere else. I guess what I'm getting at is I'm a little concerned we're having employee being what I wanna say, his wages being earmarked from capital projects. I mean, I don't have a problem.
We
I
can
know
say
some-
0 capital projects, Barb, that's fine. But then we're gonna be paying somebody else.
No, I'm just, if he's working on the project, because I know we bill out for, like if our crew works for the utilities or the parks, or I know it goes to all different things. And I don't have a problem with him as that's what you're doing. I guess I'm just kind of stumbling a little bit on that it's actually is where if he's doing something else, then it would be billed somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna bill all their time to say Schofield Ave if they're not working on Schofield
Okay,
Ave.
that's what I'm getting
Yes.
at.
No.
I'm not just, I mean, if they're working on a project, I don't have a problem with it being billed to that project. But if they're not working on a project and we're still, well, we gotta get them wages from something, we'll just
No,
do.
so if anything, it'll help the water and sewer budgets slightly because like I said, right now that position was 100% funded by the water utility and sewer utility.
Okay, well, that
So-
was my biggest concern is that if he's being charged where he's working.
Yeah, and that's how we treat everybody. I mean, staff today is out adjusting manholes or water valves. Their time is charged so that if they're working on storm sewer, we charge to storm sewer. We don't hide where, if anybody's time is hidden, it's mine. Cause my 80 hours a week doesn't show up anywhere.
Well, like I know that, like with your tip, I mean, it's a percentage in each
Correct.
department. It's not technically how much time you put in. And that's what I didn't want, is
Correct.
that there was a percentage of his wages was gonna come out of capital projects. No, it's if he works on capital.
Yeah, and this would be an hourly position. It wouldn't be a,
Okay. Sorry it takes so much, but it bothered me. All right. Okay, so what's your pleasure?
I'll motion to approve the proposed amendments to the position as stated.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, second by Linda. On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay. Discussion and or action on proposed fire fees. What's your name?
So in the packet, you'll have a background that in the February, the village board voted to have staff along safer explore the exploration of a fee. This is a fee, it cannot be a tax, that'd be against state law for it to tax you. So in order for it to be a fee, what we're charging has to be connected with the property. It can't just be all the properties divided by the total dollar amount. That would be, we'd be sued and we'd lose. So even within this whole mess that we have, the village will be getting a tax bill too with the fire fee. Josh was at a conference, and in that conference, that was one of the sticking points, is that the municipalities, in order to be all inclusive and a fee is charged to all properties, the village will also be receiving the fee. What you have below, if you look at a couple of examples that I have there, I do have a spreadsheet that has every single parcel in our village with an assigned fee. That's how I got the total fees collected. To give you all that information, I think it'd be a little overwhelming and maybe a little distraction in what the purpose of showing you this is. So one of the things that we can change to change the structure of our fee and where the majority of fees are coming from and how each parcel is charged is this, the rate per square footage. So the village decided to charge by square footage of building. This is above ground square footage. We are not charging finished basements or anything like that. At the time, we don't actually have that information. And when I looked at other municipalities, it did make sense. They did not charge for the below ground finished square footage either. So we decided to move forward with what we have. Example one has a little bit lesser of a square footage for the first 5,000, and then it's structured up. Flat fees for outside buildings and for land. And then if you go to example two, just a little bit different of a structure. You can tell the difference on how it affects the certain parcels by the examples that I have on there. Like I just chose a couple different homeowners with the square footage there. And then the fee that would be showing up on the tax bill. I have one of our highest, largest buildings in the village is Weston Supply. This is just one tax parcel for them. Remember, this is by tax parcel. So if I list like a Weston Supply, Crystal Finishing, this isn't all that they'll be paying. This is what they'd be paying for their one tax bill. Do you have any specific questions that I can answer?
Why is there such a jump for the 5,000 to 10,000 square feet?
Because I wasn't sure how else to structure that. If you look at example one, it's not.
It goes from 0.012 to 0.15.
I structured it so when you're looking at the residentials, they did not get hit as hard as the commercials. That's where this could be changed. How do we want it to affect each of our residents?
So I have a few thoughts, and I realize that the other meeting starts right now, so I'll try very much so to be brief, even though I wrote myself a bunch of notes. I want to preface this with two things. Number one, I think we should be funding SAFER to the fullest extent. You're never going to have to argue with me about public safety being funded for that all the way. I just look at it from the perspective of how we're looking to fund it. Let me just kind of paint a picture for you, as I'm sure you're all aware of this, but we get a tax bill, the county takes money, the village takes money, some schools take money, garbage money. And not all these are Village of Weston fees, but we have to pay for water. That had a recent increase. There's a public fire protection service fee as part of that. The wheel tax, the pet fees, the 13-page document on the Village of Weston that is nothing but fees, that has hundreds of fees. So the question at some point comes, what is the tax that we pay for? Because it's getting to a point where every single service that taxes are supposed to provide, we're line iteming fees. So at what point does that stop? I mean, we pay for all these other license fees, we pay for the ability to upgrade our own property. We just had a huge tax increase with the assessment change in 2024. As Jim shared in the public comment, maybe $67 isn't the end of the world for most people, but we're nickel and diming. I have a hard time believing we can't fund $400,000 some other way in the village. Now, I'd love to tell you I have a wonderful idea of how to do that. I do not. I struggle with where the end is. Like, we pay a huge amount of taxes. Village of Weston is comparable to everybody else, but like. It's just everything under the sun is a line item tax or fee on top of the taxes that we pay for it that are supposed to provide the services. And I would like to think I'm not alone as a taxpayer and like wondering, when does that end? It may only be $67. I mean, for some of these businesses, it might be $850. But where does that end? That's really what I wanted to share about it. I mean, again, I'm all for, we should be funding public safety to the fullest extent possible. I don't like how we're proposing to do it.
You know, I just wanna jump on top of that. So my tipping point was, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. When apparently a new state law came into play that you could tax cable television $5 a month. $5 a month, 60 bucks a year to a household. I know people are unhooking and they're streaming and doing all kinds of things. But it was a big thing for me, and I called at the time, the administrator, and I asked him, you know, why? Why are we doing this? It's 60 bucks. It's my $60. Why? $5 a month. Why? I swear to God, his answer was because I can. And I just blew my head right up. I took out papers 6 months later.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly it, like.
You know, but I look at that 60 bucks, you know, for me to have cable vision, and plus I'm Netflix and whatever else my grandkids want to watch. And then I look at this fire fee, and it's fire fee only, it's not EMS. But to do it, and then we would lose how much? We'd have to take out,
We have to reduce our levy.
we'd have to reduce our levy, which would, what, 120 grand or something?
And that's not finalized.
We're not
yet.
sure
It
yet
could
what
be
it
up
is,
to
right.
220.
So whatever we'd raise, we would lose the other portion. And I think we're looking for, chief, what are we looking for with these 9 firefighters?
For a dollar amount? Well, for this year, the numbers that she has in there are pretty close. I think we said the Village of Weston was gonna be, did I say 280?
Right, right. So 3, so, yeah,
A little
okay.
under 3 for the.
Okay.
And I think
I think-
safer is. We wanted to add staff and we haven't had the ability to add staff. And I guess personally speaking, and maybe Chief can come up to his chair and kind of add to this, but at a safer meeting, we had an experience where in Rib Mountain, they did not have enough staff on and a person's house could not be saved. And it's kind of, it was very emotional to sit at that meeting and listen to this household that, and their neighbors express that the fire department was there, but they didn't have enough people to fight that fire.
We had Rothschild, Riverside was the first response at 14 minutes, 15 minutes, which I thought was outstanding. But all of these residents live past Rib Mountain's fire station, so they have to go past the fire station. They see the equipment, they see it there. It's a good feeling. Every day they see this, they see all this, big equipment. And yet there was 30, 40 people in this room that night. Every single one of them, they got very emotional. But every single one of them said, I would gladly pay $100 more. If it means that we can get more fire people on that equipment so that we know they're there. The EMS people are out all the time. I mean, I don't know what the, what is the call ratio? I think at any given time, 60%. We can answer because the rest are out. And to operate the fire equipment because all those people are dual and they're flexible and they're running ambulances and they're EMTs and everything else. But this would only apply to fire. And we would have fire personnel on hand to respond to fire at both facilities, so. That's what
Again,
we're
I'm all
talking, we're
for
trying to
it.
figure out how to do it.
I'm all for that. I
Yeah,
just, how are we
We
funding?
talked about a referendum.
Yeah.
I don't know if a referendum would go. This would guarantee us having a fire fee. But
The allowable levy last year for the Village of Weston, the levy increase was 122,000. That's
Mhm.
all we can raise our levy.
Mhm.
We have no other way to raise money.
Right.
But now is this deduction just for 1 year?
Yeah, the deduction will be for 1
And
year.
then can we go back up or did we lose that?
No, we have to take the loss because we can only
have
increase
to-
by 0% or net new growth annually.
So okay, now so the whatever, the 100, whatever the
Say
dollar.
it's
amount,
200,000. That,
You subtract that out of our levy.
yeah.
And
So our
where are
total
we
levy
coming with
last
the
year
money?
was $5.5 million, 5.6. We will have to subtract from the 5.6, $200,000. So
Where are
Our
we gonna
net new
come up?
construction will be based off a dollar amount, $200,000 lower because we had to deduct
Where are we gonna make up $200,000?
our fire fee.
Okay, so then they aren't going to increase, all right, but then the following year, we're still gonna be.
No, our fault, well, we're always gonna take the hit by having to reduce the amount of levy and then multiply that lower number by the net new construction. But that's the only way that in the future, right now, if the union gets another large increase, and even with our Mountain Bay, with the percentage increase of the salaries that are guaranteed through a contract, in order to pay that, those salary increases along with the benefits are more than $122,000.
Okay,
I'm gonna need some other funds to continue moving forward to pay for these protective services.
so then that, whatever the 60 some dollars a year in down the road in the very near future is gonna
It's
increase.
gonna go up. It's gonna continuously going up as
So-
long as I am continuously limited in trying to get more revenue off our levy. I can't get any more. We will be having a TIF closure in a couple of years. That will provide some great relief. It will reduce the taxes, but right now we are not closing our TIF. We're going to be keeping it open a little bit longer to help finish paying for this road that's not done yet.
Just because it was said at two different times, so Jim, during his public comment, he brought up a flat fee, let's just say 6,000 properties.
We'd be sued and we can't do that.
Okay, so that's what you said, but it wasn't all said at the same time.
Uh,
So we can't do a flat fee.
No.
So,
The
six,
fee has to be based on the service provided to that.
so some kind of performance. It has to be done, so
Right.
a fee or flat fee or tax, whatever you want to call it. So we have to have some kind of a formula why we're taxing X amount. But if we got $75 per parcel, just $75 per parcel, including businesses, and I know we can't. If we have 6,000 spots, that's $450,000. So how do we get there in a formula?
That's kind of like what I am trying to propose up on the screen. I did it by square footage. Square footage is. There
If we
was a
get-
reason.
If we get
why
to
we
that
did
model
that.
of 450 with the reduction. And we try to do, I don't know how that formula is gonna work, but we've got to try to get to that formula. And.
What
Yeah.
are we opposed for square footage? I mean, I guess the thought is that the larger the home, the larger the response would have to be, right? So that's why we did square footage.
And I know that whole formula, but it's just like taxes. No matter what size home you have the same services. I still get garbage pickup, I still have police services, I still get fire, I still get I get all the stuff. No matter high or low, no matter how I keep my home, if it's nice, if it's crap, if I don't cut my lawn, it's all the same. And so I just wonder if there's a different way to do this, yet with some performance
Do
related.
you want it more equal?
No, I can't, because you said I'd get sued, so.
If I could just interject real quick, I think at least in the fire aspect, I understand what you're saying as far as taxes, because I agree with you.
Yep.
But at least in the fire aspect, I think there isn't, like Jamie alluded to this earlier, if loss of supply, God forbid, starts on fire, is gonna take significantly more resources and
Everybody's
significantly more
covered.
time
Everybody's
from
covered.
us. As opposed to if a single family residence on Camp Phillips starts on fire. So they, in my opinion, they should absolutely be paying a different amount.
Okay, that's actually a good point. That's a good point.
They're,
Yep.
not only is it the fire response, but our responsibilities as far as inspections and pre-planning, all those other things, we spend a much larger amount of time than most people probably realize just doing our annual responsibilities on those commercial properties as well.
Well, I don't know what the comfort level is. I don't know what a comfort level is for, the starting point for homes, for residents. Is it $60? Is it $50 like the models show here? Is it $75? I don't know. All I know is, me personally, I would pay as much as I'm paying for cable. Absolutely, I would. It's $5. It's $7 a month,
There are some other communities in the state that are using this, and some of those communities for residential properties are paying 4 to 5 cents per square foot. So they're significantly more than what's being proposed here.
Could we look at other municipalities, other models?
I have,
Oh.
and we don't need 4 cents per square foot unless we're really gonna reduce those larger square footage buildings.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Most other communities do it by square footage. Some of them, as far as the property size went, they charged an escalating amount, you know, if it was an acre, you know, 1 to 5 acres, 5 to 10, things like that. Where when Jessica did this, she did a flat amount but some of those properties are also more rural than what the village
So
is.
we've got 432 as one number and what, 395 for the other, those are the two projected. Yep, 395 and 432.
Well, it's just the way it
Right.
was structured. It's really hard because we're playing with portions of a cents and then with the large square footages of some of our buildings. If I change a couple numbers, the total fees collected changes significantly. So once we get everything narrowed down, I'll be making sure that the rates I use collect the dollar amount that we need. I guess thoughts on outside buildings, like right now, Josh was saying, because I said, well, it includes an old barn that is ready to be torn down, and it also includes like a small shed, or not a small shed, let's say a detached garage. So you're either gonna pay $15 for a barn that's ready to be torn down, or $15 for your detached garage. I wasn't sure how to feed those people, and I was struggling with that, because
But you're looking at one level of square footage, not the basement, not the second.
it's second
One-
floor.
Oh, second floor too?
Anything above ground.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But Brett's got his hand.
So, I mean, again, I don't think any of us disagree. We have a need at the fire department. It has to be filled 100%. I don't think anybody would say anything different. But again, like, a fee should be the absolute last resort. We haven't even let people have 8 months since their tax bill at the end of the year. And a lot of people are still kind of reeling from that. And here 8 months later, let's take some more.
Well, I still get from people that when they get their stormwater bill.
Yeah, because water rates went up not too long, ago. Again, yeah.
Well, no, this is stormwater, I'm not on city sewer water, so I get a separate bill
Okay.
for stormwater. And my neighbors, every time they get their bill, I think I hear from, but anyway,
It never ends. There's always something and it's
So,
always more.
but I guess my question
But our
is.
water sewer Merrill is 3 times more than we are here. So
What-
I'm thrilled.
We never went for a referendum.
We decided that the problem that we have is if you were to go for a referendum, like some of the municipalities down south did, they went for a referendum and it failed, and then they enforced a fire fee. So we talked about the risk of the referendum not passing. Because we still need firefighters, and if you look at our budget, there is, unless you're going to fire half the staff, because our whole budget for staff is only about just 1.2 million. We're not gonna be able to do that. We already moved so much street maintenance to borrowing that we can't move much more street maintenance, and you can't borrow for operations.
Right.
So I'm not sure where the funds are coming from.
Well,
And our neighbors in the southern municipalities that went through that experience, it wasn't positive for their community to have a failed referendum and then institute the fee, which is, I think, why we had that conversation at board. And I apologize, this committee wasn't a part of that board discussion, but I think that was one of the, if that's the ultimate place that we have to go, then we could educate around the fire fee instead of having a very negative experience if we had a failed referendum.
well, yeah, I just really struggle with, like with Brett, I just,
It's just too easy to say, here's more, give us more, like.
and then this is gonna increase, plus we're gonna lose. We gotta subtract it before we can add it, and I'm just really having a struggle with it, really.
And I know these examples are just that, they're examples, but like, we tried, the ones kind of geared towards businesses paying more, which I totally understand what the chief said, they take more resources, but I also think Weston is a very sought after place for businesses to come. I know some of our neighbors would love to have the growth that Weston has. And this could be a deterring factor if we say, hey, on top of that, we're gonna charge you all these fire fees. And because you're a business and you fall in this square footage, you're gonna get a higher rate than everybody else. And again, I know this is just an example, like Jessica said, we can change this however we want, but I don't know, I don't like it. I just really don't.
Could the alternative also be true though for a business to know that they would have an additional 9 firefighters that would be able to support and protect their business?
I mean, yeah, but I be able to expect that for the taxes that I pay already?
No.
No. And it's
If
growing,
that was the case, we would have them.
and it's growing.
I mean, not just with the fire, I mean, all the other things we charge extra for, like,
I think,
But in our size community, sometimes we're a training ground. If they're not getting full-time because we don't have all full-time on either side of the equation, they're going to full-time departments wherever they can get,
yeah.
which means a bigger deal. Yeah,
Fire aside, pick any other fee we charge.
yeah, okay.
Like, I mean, what does my tax get me if everything that I pay requires additional fees?
Mhm.
So like I pay this base amount, right? This much comes out. What does that get me? Because everything that we have besides that, not talking just fire, there's a fee for it. Like
Well,
I can't
it's-
have a dog without paying.
Predominantly, it's a user fee. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not putting a deck on. So I shouldn't be charged more in my taxes because as somebody else or 25 people are gonna put decks on. So it's a user fee. I'm gonna put a deck on, so now I have a user fee of that's what it's gonna cost me, or remodeling. Or whatever, I put a shed in the back. I had all I could do to come down here and sign up for it. In fact, I don't think I did. I actually think I think he's sitting in the audience. He called me up and says, what the hell are you doing? You've gotta take a thing out. And I said, okay, fine. So whatever. I asked for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Michael.
I just say, I mean, I think this meeting would open up with a question about a legal fee item. And in that we noted that we do not recover our costs, and in general, the fees we charge do not recoup the cost.
I understand.
So like to that point where we maybe only are recouping 10%, 15% of our costs, so. And with the levy restrictions and other things, there is no other way to recoup your costs. I mean, we talked about employee retention or positions earlier. I can tell you, my biggest struggle is keeping those guys relaxed because they know their to-do list is this big. And our to-done list can only be this much because we don't have enough people. We talk about taking time off of work. People don't take time off because they feel guilty leaving their coworkers with too much work to do. So I understand what you're saying, but some of us have been here trying to figure out how do we keep our rates low? How do we make the taxpayer happy while providing the most services we can? And sometimes there just isn't a great solution anymore because we try what we can until something catastrophic happens, like in Rim Mountain. And now you start going, oh, shoot, that we maybe knew better. We maybe could have raised some rates higher and we didn't because we want to be good stewards, and then it backfires on you.
You're trying to merge departments, you're trying to work with the other municipalities, you're trying to share equipment, but it's not coming fast enough.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I understand things cost money,
Yeah.
but where does it end?
Yep, you're right.
Where does it end? I mean, like again, we haven't let the dust settle from the huge increase most people got at the end of the year. I mean, we just.
Okay.
we get both
Well,
sides.
a referendum would be really something because, I still hear Taj Mahal, I still hear Garage Mahal. I still hear all this stuff, yet I wasn't the biggest on board. We tried to cut some things out of this building, but I'll tell you, this building, it's here for 75 years. And I also think it's a catalyst for our growth. It's helping, not everything, but it's helping. And yep, it was a big deal, really big deal at the time, but we get elected to make decisions and we made the decision, so. But you still hear all the
Well,
puns and all the naysayers.
well, and I hear about the referendum, and I look at this and I think maybe this is a case for a referendum. I mean, do they want, and then you can let them know that, if we can't increase our tax rate, we have to go to a fee.
Yeah, well, like they said, though, a failed referendum, I'll tell you, if we sat here with half the feeling and half the support that DC Everest has, I'd say, let's take a shot. But we don't, we're government, we're local government. You can't touch federal, you can't touch state, but you can touch local. You can come to these meetings and you blare right at us. But this is the only chance you can do. And, but DC Everest, let me tell you, if we had some of that, look out. could do all kinds of stuff.
Well, cause I'd rather pay it.
And I mean in a very good, positive way, because
I'd rather
it's
pay it on
incredible.
my taxes than I would on a fee item.
Okay.
If I could just make one more comment, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the board meeting as well, so I'll probably end up repeating some of this, but when we initially started talking about this, I'll admit I was a little bit against it, but the more I thought about it and went through it, I think this does give some transparency. I think if you went and asked a half a dozen taxpayers in the village of Weston right now, how much it costs them for the fire department every year, they're gonna think it's way more than $40 or $50. They're gonna think it's hundreds or thousands of dollars. And when we are in budget season, we talk about public safety, there's always those giant numbers up there, 4.5 million or something like that. But people don't realize on the average house, it's costing them $50 a year for the fire department to be here 24/7. Has anybody ever looked at what it costs to send a child, speaking of DC Everest, who I love, any school district, my kids go to DC Everest, they're great. But any school district, does even the board know how much the schools get per pupil per year? Look into that a little bit. They have to take care of that child 8 hours a day, 9 months a year. The fire department is responsible for this entire community 24/7. And the amount of money that we get is a tiny minuscule fraction of what the school district is. So I get a little bit defensive, because I mean, it's 40 or $50, and on a building like Wassa Supply, it's $800. And I don't disagree with you, and anybody that knows me knows I'm very much a proponent for the taxpayers having a say. But if we would do a referendum and the referendum fails, number one, we would probably have to do a referendum and then have a backup plan for if the referendum fails, because we have a safer grant. I know it's the same name as us, nothing to do with us. We have a federal grant out right now to help pay for these 9 firefighters that we want to hire. If we're gonna do a referendum and if the referendum fails, we're not gonna do anything after that, we should pull our grant or at least deny it if we're awarded, because we won't be able to afford it. And not only that, but we'll have to look at cutting staff. We already call for assistance from Riverside and Wausau over 100 times a year because we can't cover our own calls. So at the end of the day, both municipalities that we cover need to choose what level of service they want. It's my job to do whatever the elected officials tell me to do, but our department runs at about half the staffing of what departments our size do, even a little bit under that. And most of those departments are saying they're understaffed. For anybody that follows the fire service, this is the last thing I'll say is there was a fire at a nursing home, which, as you guys know, the village of Weston is full of. There was a fire at a nursing home in Massachusetts about 2 weeks ago. Larger community, approximately 90,000 people. That community has 10 fully staffed engines with 4 people per engine. They lost, unfortunately, several people in that fire, and that fire chief is getting a ton of pressure because they don't have enough staff. On a good day, I have 1 engine with 2 people. They have 10 with 4, and they said it wasn't enough. So just a little bit of things to think about as you make a decision with this.
Like I said, Chief, I'm all for you.
No, I get it. And I don't necessarily disagree with you either. I don't.
It never ends, and this is just what's today and what's tomorrow, you know? I agree. I think we have to fund those firefighters, whatever the cost, but I just think we should always look at fire or any sort of fee as the absolute last resort before we do it.
Okay,
It's
so
just
what
too
do we do?
easy.
Come back with some more formulas?
I can come back. Do you have any recommendations that you want to see the 1 to 5 and the 5 to 10 a little bit closer? Is that?
I think those are good breakouts. I just am still questioning that 0.15. I think it might be a typo. Is it 0.015? Because that's just a huge jump. When you look at example 2, 0.069, but yet in example 1, it's 0.15.
It's just the way that I
0.2.
mean, you can see the structure in example 2, maybe we want to lean more towards that. I can bring up back a couple more. Any last comments on the outside structures, outside buildings, OBMs?
Well, I guess if it's an old barn and it catches on fire, the fire department's gonna have to come.
Well, should there be a difference between like a detached garage and an old pole shed sitting out in the country? Was my struggle. I don't know. I don't have all that information. It would be a little bit more extra work to get all that. And then all of a sudden you're evaluating this large outside building that you don't know the value of or the condition of and you're treating them apple to apple. So I struggled with that.
Okay.
Would this amount then be a moving target each year? I mean, like you just said, with union contracts and raises, so like year one, this is what the fee is, but then we can expect an increase pretty much every single year. Cause those 9 people, obviously, the longer they're there, the more they cost.
We have an allowable levy increase, and then with our TIFs coming up and closing, we'll have a little bit more. So what we are going to raise as a fee is what we, the board, not we as staff, but what the board decides we need to raise. It's not staff decision, it's a board decision. And if the Safer board approves a budget, the village board will have to figure out how to fund that. So
It would be, it potentially could be adjusted every year. Maybe it wouldn't be. I mean, our refuge and recycling stayed the same for 7 years. It will increase this year because we had to enter it, that contract ended, but is it guaranteed to adjust every year? No, but can it? Yes.
So that'll come back. Okay. If anybody has any thought here, I mean, give
please
Jessica a
send
call.
emails, or
Yeah,
if you have questions, let me know.
Mhm.
I could definitely use some help on this.
Sorry. I've just not, okay. So moving along, do we need to we're just gonna refer this to the next meeting?
Yeah, there isn't a motion needed. It'll come back next month.
Okay, all right. And then discussion and or action on the 2026 budget process.
I think tentative schedule looks good.
So the big question for the committee is last year, finance and HR did wages and benefits and made a referral to the board, and there wasn't joint meetings. Previous to last year, there was always joint meetings, and they happened, we started a joint board and finance meeting at 5 o'clock, and the board and finance met together and talked about budget. Just looking to see, do we want to do joint meetings all the way through, or would finance and HR like to meet and just determine those, make the recommendation to the board for wages and benefits? If we do the joint meetings, that's the tentative calendar, and we would, those additional meetings would be added on to the committees.
Separate.
Separate? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with separate. This is my last meeting, hopefully. So. On this board, so I won't have to go to 2. Well, I'd be.
You'll likely still be here.
Yeah, I know I will. Okay. Because I'm not nominated, believe for this position.
Yeah.
So if that would be the decision of the committee, then I would look for a motion to say that you'd be making the recommendation of just wage and benefit information regarding 26 budget to the board.
Anybody want to make that motion?
Your thoughts too?
Okay.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Motion for Maloney. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Hackbar? On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay. Remarks from staff. Anything? Remarks from committee
Make a
members?
small comment.
Sure.
Okay, so you guys are the finance committee, and I hope I don't get penalized for saying this, but when we talk out loud and we say we had a huge tax increase last year, it was a revaluation. Some properties had their tax bills go down, not up. So I think we just need to be conscious of what we're saying. The last water rate increase was in 2023. Sewer had a rate increase last year. That was the last sewer rate increase in the last probably 15 years. So I know we've had rate increases, but these meetings are recorded. They do get reported on by the media. And when all of a sudden we have committee members say things get taken out of context, and all of a sudden we create, I don't want to call it misinformation because it's not necessarily misinformation, but I don't think it tells the whole story. So I think we just truly need to be careful of what we're saying to make sure that it is accurately portrayed if it is reported on. So.
Well said.
Yes. Okay, so, okay, from committee members, anything? Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. And I have nothing. Future date, August 18th at 4:30. I was gonna look up here to see what I gotta get that schedule. And then, the thing else, I might need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
by Maloney, second by Akbar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. That we adjourned at 6:32.
I call